he can. He has 2 Vulpine Goliaths, the 6/5 Fox, 2 Ill-Tempered Cyclopses, which has a monstrous cost of 6. It's a really aggressive monstrous creature. Really, and then as we talked about, Karametra's Acolyte, also in his deck.
A little ramp action as well. You're going to see Mark Littlefield here. Looks like we're going to start with Turtenwald versus O'Brien to begin. You guys see in the middle there at the top, you see Jensen, Durney, you see Littlefield, you see Duke, you see O'Brien and Turtenwald. They'll be able to keep track of the match the entire time, as O'Brien looks like he's going to take at least 1 mulligan to start things off here in round number 1. But we'll be able to cut back and forth in between the matches as we have in prior Team Seal tournaments. If this is your first one, we'll be keeping updates in the middle there of how the matches are going. We'll be able to cut back and forth as well. So at any point there's any downtime, we'll be able to move back and forth in between matches and update game states for you as we go here all day long in Team Seal.
So looking at the decks, I kind of, on first glance, think that Owen has the strongest deck on his team right now.
Okay.
Other than just having a straight blue-white heroic deck, we talked about rares. He also has 100-handed one in his deck, which, if you're familiar with, is a 3/5 for 4 mana.
He has all the hands.
In monstrosities for a very aggressive 6 mana, and then it gains reach and the ability to block 100 things.
So that card is, it's a card that people look at and constructed, and people were just like, oh, it should be able to block Pestermite and all this stuff, and when Deceiver Exarch goes off and modern stuff like that, but from a limited aspect, that's a very good card.
Exactly.
So Turtenwald's just going to start off with a couple of planes to get the show started. Not a very aggressive start. O'Brien with a red-black deck here. So we'll see who's going to be the first to the board, as Turtenwald's going to play an island.
And he's going, Nimbus Naiad, which that's just the 2/2 right now.
I love the versatility of this card, being able to be a Spectral Flight if it needs to be, or it can just go up, or it can just play it on turn 3 to actually get the party started.
Yeah, and it's usually just a Wind Drake, which is what I like. What I like about this card, which is Wind Drake's a fine card to play.
So Naiad is going to come across for 2, going to put O'Brien down to 18. Turtenwald looks like he's got a follow-up play on turn 4.
Yep, and that's going to be Heliod's Emissary. So it's a 3/3. It's another one of those bestow. When it attacks, it taps a creature, but it's going to hit. It's going to be hit with Lightning Strike.
Sure.
Which all that whole Emissary cycle is very strong, actually. All right, and that's going to be a Borderland Minotaur. He's just a 4/3, but there's a little bit of a secret going on. If you've played Black Red at all, he's running the Minotaur's archetype. In his hand, I actually saw a Kragma Warcaller, which is so Borderland Minotaur is just a 4/3. He's unassuming, but next turn Matt's going to make Kragma Warcaller, which is one of the 2 Lord effects for Minotaurs in the set. It is a 2/3 for 5 that gives all Minotaurs haste, and more importantly, gives all Minotaurs the ability that when they attack, they get +2/+0.
Which is certainly relevant. As you see the Borderland Minotaur on the screen, just a 4 mana 4/3, as you mentioned, with a bit of a story to tell. As Turtenwald is going to take his time this turn, he's going to start by attacking for 2 in the air, going to put O'Brien down to 16 and just pass the turn back. Could be representing a Divine Verdict here.
Definitely Divine Verdict. That's probably the trick he's representing. He also, I do not believe, it doesn't look like he actually has one. He also could have Voyage's End. He has a Last Breath in his deck, which actually, if Matt O'Brien makes this Kragma Warcaller, would be a really strong play. Last Breath can actually hit it, as it's not actually a 4/3. It swings like a 4/3.
This is an interesting play here by Turtenwald, because if O'Brien is familiar with the set and the format and the cards that are available, Turtenwald, it feels like to me, is strongly representing Divine Verdict right now. So he might want to just play the Kragma Warcaller and that's not attack at all, but I think that might play into Turtenwald's hands as well. As you see, O'Brien's just going, he's a little unsure of himself right now, so he is going to play the Warcaller. Right,
so his hand is a land Warcaller, and then Rage of Perforos is the last card. That's a 4 mana damage spell for 5, sorcery speed that scries 1. And you called here, it is going to be, Last Breath.
You did call it.
Yeah, so which, as you can tell, it's actually just a 2/3. We'll put O'Brien back up to 20, but and then we see Voyage's End,
and he's going to scry 1. That's a really, really good turn from Turtenwald. 2 tricks there, one of removal spell, one of them is going to set O'Brien back, so now he's going to scry 1. He gets to untap, he's going to be able to come across for 2, going to knock O'Brien back down to 18, but now he's suiting up.
Nimbus Naiad on Nimbus Naiad.
Flavor Judge. We need one here. I don't know if that should be a thing you can do.
To me, the Voyage's End actually says that Owen's a little light on action right now.
Sure.
The Last Breath put O'Brien back up to 20, so that kind of, you can use an Unsummon to race a lot of the time. But if you're putting your opponent back up to 20 with the Last Breath, it means you're not really interested in racing. So he's almost using that Unsummon just for the Scry 1 effect, basically as a defensive, okay, put my opponent back a turn and Scry 1.
So the Minotaur's going to come back down, so O'Brien's just going to play the 4/3. He's got 2 mana left, he's going to pass the turn. Turtenwald's sitting out there with a 4/4 flyer, going to come across for 4 in the air again, put O'Brien down to 12. He's got a follow-up play here.
That's going to be Wave Crash Triton. He's a 1/4 that when he's targeted, ices down a creature. And a little bit of a flood for O'Brien here. He's probably going to have to spend that Rage of Perforos on the Nimbus Naiad.
Yeah, but that doesn't accomplish a ton, of course, because of the Stow.
It shrinks it, basically. Yeah. But he's almost going to play it as much for the removal spell as for the Scry one here. You know, he needs to find some action because he's behind in this race.
See the Wave Crash Triton on the screen there, the 3-mana 1/4. Basically a Horn Turtle in this set with some upside.
Yeah, that's actually one of the cards that when I started playing with it, I thought was pretty mediocre when I looked at the spoiler. But it gets, the more heroic your deck gets, this card can actually become quite a contender.
Sure.
I would say I undervalued it.
So across for 4 comes O'Brien. Turtenwald's going to go into 16, and now here is going to be the removal spell to take care of it in the Rage of Porphyros to shrink it just down to a lonely Windrake. And there will be a Scry 1 here.
Yep, he quickly shipped it to the bottom.
Yeah. So you're right, he is a little short on action. Turtenwald's going to come across for 3 here, going to knock O'Brien down to 9, and he does have yet another follow-up play.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of Minotaurs in Matt O'Brien's deck. He does have just the one Kragma Warcaller. I don't believe he opened the rare, but he's playing a couple Fellhide Minotaurs as well. So a pretty key removal spell, I guess, from Owen there.
So Turtenwald plays a Triton Fortune Hunter and passes the turn back. O'Brien comes across for 4 yet again with his Minotaur, and he's going to pass the turn back.
And that's Bronze Sable. It's actually just a 2/1 for 2. And then Triton Fortune Hunter for Owen. So Owen, certainly at this point you'd say, okay, this is a heroic deck we're playing against.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
The Bronze Sable, so being just a 2/1 for 2, is the kind of card that while okay in draft, you probably want to avoid playing in formats like Team Sealed. What you have to kind of imagine in Team Sealed is that everyone's deck's pretty good.
Yeah.
So you want to have, your cards either need to be presenting a strong threat or be an answer to a strong threat, because people will be doing really powerful things. I don't really feel like Bronze Sable does either of those.
Yeah, I think, you know, in a certain deck, I think the card can be really, really good if you're hyper aggressive. As now, here's the the double plus
Right.
2/2.
So this is what I'm saying, where this is
Yeah.
one of the defining cards.
Yeah,
of
Dauntless
this archetype.
Onslaught looks insane right now.
How insane is this right now? Okay, it's 4 damage to the dome and taps down its creature and
Draws a card, yeah.
Right. This uncommon cycle is just beyond powerful in the right deck.
Yeah, that Dauntless Onslaught was an absolute
I
beating.
mean, just one.
Yeah, I mean, +2, so we're looking at 4 damage, tap your guy, draw a card.
Tap your guy, it doesn't untap.
Yeah,
draw a
yeah,
card.
tap your guy, doesn't untap, draw a card, and yeah, that's completely busted.
Right.
That was an insane turn from Turtenwald.
I remember we said that was the worst of the 2 combat cards.
Yes,
Okay.
between that and Triton Tactics. So Turtenwald is going to win game 1 over Matt O'Brien off the back of that. What looks to be a. All right, I know that you said that. No, we didn't say this was the best uncommon, but it looked pretty good there.
It's really good.
Yeah, it
It's-
looked really good
I just
there.
think in a format where people can build streamlined decks, I'm really excited to play that.
We're going to cut over to Jensen versus Durney, and among the permanents we see on the board, we see a Spear of Heliod on the table for Jensen. He's also got a little horsey out there.
So he has a Crow and Horse, Spear of Heliod, and Coastline Chimera. Remember that a Crow and Horse isn't actually his card; it was probably given to him.
Yep.
But right now he has a lot of blockers. He has this really good board stall going on. Interestingly, I'm not sure how the Spear of Heliod. It looked like the Spear of Heliod was cast via Reap Intellect. So Reap Intellect, if you can get that. The question, yeah, why is Spear of Heliod? in
Yeah,
play
that's
for
what I
Huey,
was
right?
wondering too.
Okay, so Reap Intellect is a blue-black rare that for 5 mana lets you look at your opponent's hand, take a card, and then for the rest of the game you may cast that card in exile, and you can pay colorless mana for. You can basically pay for it any way you want.
Okay.
So I'm guessing he played that out of Ryan's hand during this
Gotcha.
game. So he's never gonna be able to activate it. It's just a glorious anthem. Or sorry, it's not Reap Intellect. That was, but it's Psychic Intrusion.
Sure, there it is.
Sorry, yeah, Reap Intellect was from the last set.
Yes.
But it's blue-black rare that takes cards out of people's hand.
And of course, the Crow and Horse is the 4-mana 0/4 defender. When it enters the battlefield, opponent gain control of it. So of course, Ryan cast that, went over to Huey's side, being your upkeep. You get a 1/1 soldier each turn.
Yeah, so Huey actually has a lot of Ryan's cards in play right now. And we see Prescient Chimera is going to get hit by a Sip of Hemlock. That'll take Huey down to. Huey's going to need an answer right now, it looks like, for all these 1/1s.
It does not look like he's doing great right now.
Well, Ryan's side of the board is really defensive. So he has a Returned Phalanx, which is a 1/3 with Defender. It loses Defender for blue mana, but Ryan's not playing blue.
Sure.
He has Zaphodel Wanderer, which is a 1/1 that regenerates for 3. So that guy's not attacking either. He has Returned Centaur, which is a 2/4. That guy's not really attacking. So Ryan doesn't actually have a way through Coastline Chimera right now. Coastline Chimera is a 1/5 that for 2 mana can block an additional guy, but one of those 2 mana has to be white. So Huey's actually, I was going to say, was just playing him as a 1/5.
Take that.
Now I'm taking that back. We'll see Mnemonic Wall getting back. It looks like Hero's Downfall.
Hero's Downfall, the new Dreadbore.
The new Dreadbore. Probably upgrade to Dreadbore.
Yeah, I would say that it is, and certainly a fantastic card in Limited, as Dreadbore was.
Yeah, I mean, I was always happy first picking Murder, and I think this card's better than Murder in Limited.
I'm with you.
Only slightly better. It's really about the same card.
Yeah.
But when that small situation when it is better, oh my, is it better?
Yeah, it is much better.
If your opponent plays an Ashiok, and you're like, yeah, that's fine, kill it.
I would say that's worth killing.
Yes.
I think over the course of this weekend, I think we're going to see some Ashioks cast. Maybe not so much today, but I've got a feeling tomorrow we're going to see some Ashioks.
That card is... I love 3-mana Planeswalkers. I hope they show up in Standard.
I haven't seen a card do a 180 in a long time like Ashiok did. First time people saw it, everyone's going, this card's terrible. And now all of this week, everyone's going, actually, Ashiok's pretty insane, going from 3 to 5 on the first activation.
We see soldier tokens. The soldier's just popping out of the Akroan horse.
Yep.
I always want to call it Trojan horse when I see it.
That's good flavor.
But
that one's got good flavor.
Kind of like I want to call it Helios, but it's Heliod.
So we see a lot of soldier tokens being reached for here. Maybe they're coming into the red zone. They are.
We've got to watch out here. Remember that Chimera can actually block 2 of them. The Mnemonic Wall can block 1.
Mm-hmm.
The horse can block 1. So that's actually 4 creatures that can be blocked. Only 2 things are going to get through.
Yeah, so
only one's going to die.
Yeah, I was going to say, so how much damage are we actually getting through here? It looks like Jensen.
Oh no, wait! With Spear of Heliod, a bunch of these things.
Yeah,
are
that's actually true because his creatures are a bit bigger.
Yeah, they're all. Oof. I'm not sure I'm a fan. That's 2. You have to really want 2 damage.
And you see, he could have blocked. He could have, as you said, activated the Coastline Chimera, but he wants to leave up Hero's Downfall. Looks like, and there is a Lash of the Whip.
Right, -4/-4.
Yep.
So he actually had to get that 1 damage through.
Yep.
And now Huey's pointing out that actually it was a 1/5. It wasn't just a 1/5. It was a
2/6.
So that Lash of the Whip's not actually going to kill it.
Mm-hmm. And so now there is a Hero's Downfall taking care of the Horsey. So no more tokens coming for Durney, as Huey is starting to stabilize pretty well here as Durney is out of cards.
Well, yeah, that was an important, unfortunately for Ryan, a really big turn there.
Yeah.
You know, Latch of the Whip's a pretty powerful card, and he didn't get any value off it.
So now the Chimera is going to come into the red zone for 2.
I'm surprised he's deciding to get aggressive here. It really shows that he's going to have a follow-up play of...
Oh, boy.
So when I was talking about his deck, I said the Huey's deck I thought was the worst of the 3. It was what kind of when I think of a generic sealed deck.
Sure.
It's value card removal plus the most value you can generate, plus maybe some walls.
Well, I think
bombs plus removal, right?
I think that's exactly how Huey likes to play Magic. His Mnemonic Wall just keeps bringing back Hero's Downfall. You see an attack there from Durney. Huey's walls are going to block both of those soldier tokens. They are 1/5s right now because of the Spear of Heliod in play. Some damage is going to come across, knocking Jensen down to 7. But again, he's sitting pretty well right now. As you do see up at the top there, Mark Littlefield takes a game number 1 over Reed the Duke.
All right, so we have a little bit of a match going on here. Interestingly enough, in Huey's deck, their pool had a Voyage's End in it, which is a pretty decent combo with Mnemonic Wall, Voyage's End being the unsummoned. They opted to play the Voyage's End in Owen's aggressive deck instead of Huey's control deck. And now we get some aggro. That's going to be Thassa's Emissary. So all the emissaries are 3/3s for 4 that bestow for either 6 or 7 mana.
Okay.
And they all give the creature +3/+3 and some ability. This one gives the ability of when it hits a player, draw a card.
The bestow cost there is 5 and a blue, so it's going to be 6 total. You see Emissary on the screen, and as you mentioned, Huey is getting aggressive now. He's going to start cantripping, and the entire time that he's doing this, you can see that he keeps leaving up Hero's Downfall. Mm-hmm. Never letting that shield down. He's got his defenses in place, and now he just wants to keep attacking.
Right, and Ryan also really has to watch out. I was going to say for Huey to play a second Plains. Now, as we know here, Huey only plays 1.
Sure.
The second Plains would be important because it would allow him to activate Spear of Heliod, which is pretty hard to beat
Yeah.
once it's online.
I think it is pretty difficult to beat.
It's a reciprocate effect.
Arguably the best, maybe the best weapon, maybe the bow.
I don't think it's the
Tough to say.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's probably not the best weapon. Actually, if you had the Bident right now, that would be pretty unbeatable. That turns all your creatures into the attack, and it's
basically no Ophidian. Yeah.
Yep. So it's coastal piracy if you've been playing for a long time. But it forces all your opponents to attack.
Yeah.
Which is insane here with your team of wolves. So we saw the Grey Merchant of Asphodel. He was trying to kill Durney. He's going to Farika's Curate in response just to gain 2 life.
Yep. Just make sure he doesn't die. There's a scry card, there's a draw card, and Durney is going to concede the game, so Jensen's going to win game number 1 here. So you see the team of Jensen, Turtenwald, and Duke, they're ahead right now. We've got a long way to go, however. As you see, Durney is going to go to his sideboard.
Yeah, Durney's going to get a lot of advantage out of sideboarding here. As you saw, he was playing cards like Returned Phalanx on no blue and Zaphodel Wanderer, which I can't imagine he's going to keep in anymore. He's not on the defense in this match.
We were going to cut over to the Turtenwald O'Brien matchup, but as we were going to cut over there, you see them both pick up their permanents. Looks like O'Brien got a quick one there and has evened it up. As you see, Jensen is going to help Turtenwald out with sideboarding. Now, this is the fun part, Matthias. I know you've played some Team Seal tournaments. Right. I have as well. The back and forth, the asking for help, the way to go about doing it. How do you want to sideboard? What do you think is important? This is the fun part of Team Seal.
It's really interesting. So you can complement your skills even among pro players. That happens. When I played in the last Seal tournament, one of my teammates, Kyle Stoll, for example, is a very good sideboarder. That's like one of his skills. And so basically during our whole tournament, we just turned to him during sideboarding. Whereas you get to play to each other's skills. We really don't get to in any other format.
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason you see Jensen maybe in the middle too. I mean, of course, all 3 of these players are very, very skilled limited players here.
Absolutely.
I think of the 3, I think Huey might be the most accomplished as far as limited is concerned. Of course, he just did win Grand Prix Oakland as well. So having in the middle seat and being able to talk with him about, hey, what do you think about this idea, that idea, this keep, this mulligan, how to sideboard? It's pretty powerful to have him in the middle seat to help you out with those things.
Right. What you want to have, so when you think about a middle seat player, basically what you need to think of is that, so there's 3 pairs of communication, right? There's Reed talking to Huey, there's Huey talking to Owen, and there's Owen talking to Reed. Mm-hmm. And what you have to say is that one of these 3 pairs you don't get to have.
Sure.
So what you want, I think when you build your team, what you want to think of is, what does each pair benefit from when they talk to each other? So if you have 2 players who are both, say, really skilled technicians, like really good at playing the game, but maybe not good at, playing other people's games for them, or maybe not good at sideboarding, then if they can't talk to each other, you aren't losing very much. So you'd put them on the ends.
Sure.
So you kind of want to think, I think when you evaluate, you have to think, which pair of us when we talk, don't have anything to say to each other.
Littlefield is going to go back to the mulligan well here, so it looks like he's going to be going down to 5. Unhappy with that 6. Looks like it only had 1 land in it, unfortunately.
So we have yet to see these players' decks. We saw that Reed is on that green-red monstrous ramp deck. We saw 3 Voyaging Satyrs and a Karametra's Acolyte, so fully committed to the let's make more mana plan.
Probably a little bit of a slower strategy. He's playing against a blue-green deck here from Littlefield.
That's a color combination I was not expecting to see. I'm really excited to see what he's doing with it. It's obviously good.
He's got 2 Nesminas, 2 Nalia's Emissaries here, 2 Vaporkin, 3 Voyage's End.
They actually had 4 Voyage's Ends in the pool. He has the 4th one in the board. That's a card I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
Nessian Asp is actually also a very strong card in green. That's it's a 4/5 reach for 6, but then also monstrous it's at common. It's one of those common monstrous creatures that you're really happy to play.
Also has Horizon Chimera in his deck as well, which is the blue-green card.
Horizon Chimera, yep, it's the Flash Trample 3/2.
Yep, and you gain a life when you draw a card, so that card is a pretty good one to have in the blue-green deck as well.
So Reed is that out on Fleet Feather Sandals. There's a pair of 2-mana equipment in the set that play and equip for 2. Fleet Feather Sandals gives them flying and haste. The other one makes them creatures unblockable except by walls. Fleet Feather is good. It's a little less good right now because we saw from Littlefield, we saw a Leaf Crown Dryad, which is the Reach bestow creature.
Now here's your Windrake bestow creature.
Yeah, so it looks like right now all the cards in Littlefield's deck have Reach and Flying. which makes me a little suspect of the Fleet Feather Sandals, of how good they'll be here. That's basically just going to give haste.
Maybe Reed's trying to use them defensively. Maybe he lost game 1 just by being flown over, and now he needs these on the defensive end.
Yeah. Right. Not how you expect to see the card, but a good adaptation. And this is a card that needs no introduction. This is
that is Magma Jet. That one is going to be the old 2-damage Scry 2 here. So Reed with a good removal spell there. New artwork on the Magma Jet, of course. I'm actually a fan of the new artwork as opposed to the old one.
Yeah, it's originally from 5th Dawn.
Yes.
Saw a ton of play then. Question is whether or not it'll see play here. It's still really powerful, but creatures are bigger. Shock doesn't kill stuff anymore.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of interesting. You know, again, it's not as efficient as Shock. If Shock is good, do you want to play Magma Jet instead? It's an extra mana, but you do get to Scry 2. It's all debatable.
So I have a question for you. Draft question. You have a pack with Magma Jet and Lightning Strike.
Strike.
Just that was easy. So you'd rather do 3 than do 2.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty easy. Again, I haven't gotten to play very much, but then again, no one else has either. But I feel like it's probably Strike to begin.
Now you're second guessing it. I'm hearing.
I am. There's a little second guessing now. But Magma Jet's uncommon in its Scries. I don't know. I'm second guessing myself a little bit here.
We do see Nessie and Asp. Sorry, it's a 4/5 for 5.
Yeah.
I apologize there.
But the Asp is it's a 4/5 for 5 with reach. Monstrosity of 7, Monstrosity 4. This thing gets huge fast, and it plays defense very well.
It's one of the stronger green commons in the set. If not the strongest one. It's hard to say. With green, it's always hard to say what the best common is because like its cards are so close in power level, and you need a good mix of them in a good green deck. But Nessie and Asp, if you're in the market for paying monstrosity for your cards, I think Nessie and Asp is one of your top priorities.
Voyage's End is going to get that out of the way. Scry 1 here from Littlefield as well. He's going to put that card to the bottom. Looks like he's going to try to push through a little bit of damage here, turn those 2 creatures sideways.
Well, so I like how Littlefield's deck lines up with Reed's here. Voyage's End is great against a monstrous strategy. He's choosing a plan here where he's going to try to race Reed. I think the difficulty is that because he's on the Model 5, I'm not sure he's actually ahead in the race.
Yeah. Let's Scry to the bottom here. Here's another Voyage's End, though, and another Scry. Now, we know that he does have 3 Voyage's End in his deck, and the 4th one in the sideboard does Littlefield, so he is aggressively trying to push through damage here.
And I do like that game plan. That double Voyage's End play, he's just digging for more action.
It looks like to me he's just it feels like he's trying to steal one here on his Mulligan at 5.
If you're Reed, you might see Reed stop and go defensive here because he's up so many cards on mark.
Sure. Scratch to the bottom, it's going to happen. Littlefield is going to untap. He's going to draw. Draws an island for the turn, so that's not all that exciting. He's going to turn both those creatures sideways yet again. Tap some mana. What's the follow-up going to be?
It's going to be Nylea's Emissary. So another part of that Emissary cycle. This one gives +3/+3 and Tramp.
Yep. Yeah, all these are really, really good.
They all are great.
Yeah.
I think they're all good. This one might even be the weakest one.
It's saying a lot if that's the weakest one.
Right.
Because
that
one's
really
pretty
good.
gosh darn good.
Yeah.
Is the enchantment creature Cat. As Reed is just going to play the Asp again and pass the turn back.
Right, so he's held back. Kind of we said here, he's so far up on cards, he's decided to hold back his attacks. Kind of thinking, if both players just sit around and play out their hands, it's going to be really hard for Reed to lose. He's up about 4 cards.
Yeah. You see him slow down finally a bit here, thinking that, I can win this game. I don't need to get tempoed out of this game anymore. I think if we just play some more turns, I can win, but hello.
That's Curse of the Swine. So Curse of the Swine is a rare. At first, it does not look very good, but I'll let you in on a secret here. The card is incredible in the format.
Yeah, it looks good right now.
I just some people saying, hey, do I even main deck that card? Is it good? And because of how large creatures get in this format, I opened this at my pre-release, and I played it because I was like, hey, I'm not sure how good this is, but it's a rare. I gotta learn, right?
Sure.
Blown away by how strong it was.
So you see it on the screen there, exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller puts a 2/2 green boar creature into play. So basically what you're doing is you're downsizing their creatures. Yes, they're still going to have creatures, but, Littlefield was having difficulty getting to that 4/5 Asp. No longer. I think he can push his way through some 2/2s.
Yeah.
Especially in combination with bounce spells as well. Ideally, you'd like to use your bounce spells in the manner that he has, but to be able to bounce some things out of the way with Voyage's End to get those boars off the table as well can let you continue to push through damage and use those Voyage's End as a removal spell.
Right.
All right, so we got some blocks here from Duke.
Right, Reed is going to be happy to trade whatever he can. Remember, he's up so many cards. That Curse of the Swine, which Mark played, is once again card disadvantage. You know, he's played 2 Voyage's Ends and a Curse of the Swine. These are all good tempo cards. Great cards when you're ahead, like most tempo cards, worse when you're behind. And we see from Reed in defensive play here, it's another Leaf Crown Dryad. This one is bestowed on the board.
So there you see Leaf Crown. 2 mana 2/2, but it can be bestowed for 4 mana. Give +2/+2 and reach. So Vaporkin is going to stay at home.
What I like about the Dryad, it's a little of an unassuming card. You know, it's a 2/2 for 2. Is that it's never really a dead card.
Yeah.
You know, it's a 2/2 for 2 that you're really happy to play because it has reach. I think it's fine as a 2/2. It's not just, you know, a grizzly bear.
Sure.
It does something. And then as we see here, hey, it has a lot of value in the late game as well.
You're going to see Reed equip up the sandals here. And I'm agreeing with you. Again, it's about versatility, especially in limited. The fact that it's a 2/2 for 2 means that if you have an aggressive draw, you can play it on turn 2 Grizzly Bear style. It can also block a flyer, can trade with a Vaporkin, which you kind of like as well. Or you can do exactly what Reed did, which is bestow it and be able to play even better defense. And here's another Magma Jet taking care of the Vaporkin. And now Reed's going to get even deeper into his deck, a little bit much better card selection moving forward as we get into the late game.
So let's look at some of the things, you know, how is Reed going to close out the game? I'm going to go look at his deck list here. The large things he can ramp into. He has 2 Ill-Tempered Cyclops. He has... It looks like that. 2 Vulpine Goliaths. That's not really the most elegant way to win, but it'll work. It's a 6/5 trample. On top of that, he has a Bow of Nylea, which is...
That is an elegant way to win.
It's actually, his deck's a little light on monsters.
Sure.
You know, I don't think Vulpine Goliath was the choice card, for example.
I think it's just kind of a matter of, you know, whatever it takes to get the job done. His deck can play some defense pretty well as he has his own Nylea's Emissary here. You see that's going to get taken care of by a Null. A Null, interesting card here, Matthias. Main deckable in this format, I think, a high percentage of the time.
Well, I want to say it's main deckable. I'm interested to see how main deckable it is in Team Sealed because I don't know, say for example, Huey's archetype, if it's actually live there anymore.
Sure.
Or just how live it is, I guess.
So in comes Littlefield with a 3/3.
An interesting choice. I'm looking at Reed's card selection. He's opted not to play Sedge Scorpions. That's a 1/1 death touch for 1. That card is better than you'd expect in the format because of its ability to trade with monstrous things.
Sure.
Green actually has a really difficult time dealing with Sedge Scorpion.
Here's Reed with a Destructive Revelry. You're going to see Littlefield take a look here. He's going to Voyage and get his guy back to the top of his deck. Revelry on the screen for you guys. Trigger target artifact or enchantment. Deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller.
Pretty good naturalize.
He's going to replay his Littlefield, the Emissary, and pass the turn back.
Yeah,
but now Duke knows he's on empty now.
Yeah, Littlefield's really on the back foot. It's only going to take... It's going to take very little pressure for Reed to start forcing Littlefield to make really difficult blocks here. There's a 4/4. Littlefield can, I guess, take 1 damage from it, but that's about it. 1 hit from it.
So Reed's going to move around the sandals. Going to come in sideways here with a couple of Voyaging Satyrs. When block's going to happen, damage is going to get pushed through.
Down to 2. He passes back the turn. He's leaving the window open for some pumps here. For 5 damage is a lot. Can't think of something immediately that does 5.
It's a good slow roll of the draw step. I got to give Littlefield that. See what he can find. The good thing for Littlefield too, we can't forget he is up a game here.
Right.
So even though he did take a mulligan to 5 this game, he has battled admirably to even make a game out of this with the potential to even possibly win it. And if not, you can just play a 3rd one.
Reed's now checking out his graveyard so he can remember things for game 3. An interesting thing about Team Sealed is that sometimes it does, like, a lot of times teams build the same 3 decks. In a format, there's really just an obvious trio of decks. And it can come down to matchups. This seems like the match to me where, though we see Reed winning this game, it's a difficult matchup for him. 3 Voyage's Ends, or up to 4 Voyage's Ends are difficult for Reed to deal with. And looking at Mark's board, Mark has the option to board all the way up to 4 Voyage's Ends and 2 Grip Tides, which is very strong against a monstrous stack. You know, almost means you never want to pay that cost.
Yes. How do you feel about Griptide in this format? I know in its previous format,
it was okay.
It was just okay, yeah.
I think it's a little better than okay because of the monster stack. But I think it's probably about the same. It does what it does.
Griptide, of course, just being the 4-mana repel effect.
Yeah, it's
that you can play at instant speed.
We just saw Time Ebb in M14.
So we do have a quick update here. Owen Turtenwald does win the match over Matt O'Brien 2-1. You guys see it there in the middle of the screen up top. So the team of Duke, Jensen, and Turtenwald are currently up a match. And you've got Jensen up a game over there against Durney, but Duke with his back against the wall against Littlefield.
Now, I also noticed something about Mark's deck. I don't know if anyone on their team is playing Heroic, and it's really a shame. In his sideboard, he has 3 Triton Tactics.
That pains you.
Yes, I was like, oh man, I wish you could have played those. That's really, and it looks like, I'm looking at their white cards, I don't think they had the deck. It wasn't there. That is a shame. It could have been a really, and sometimes it happens in sealed. Like,
I promise, we will see some Triton Tactics eventually. I promise, my friend.
Well, when you see open 3 Triton Tactics, you just have to be thinking, oh, this deck could be so good.
All right, so we see some hand gestures here, maybe a little bit of confusion on what to do. Littlefield might just be passing the turn back here. Is he sitting at 2 life? Duke is sitting at 8. I think maybe he's trying to figure out. It looks like he's probably communicating with the teammates on what do I do to get myself out of this situation, because it looks like he's in a bad one.
So remember, how Team Sealed works is that now that Owen and Matt O'Brien's match is done, the 2 of them are allowed to help with the other matches, but they cannot physically stand up. They can slide their chair over and help. But once you physically stand up, you must be removed from the match.
You are exiled.
You are exiled. You may not re-enter. What is...
I thought it was a red card for a minute, but that's not possible. So what is Littlefield holding on to here? All right, we're going to find out now, aren't we?
It's Horizon Scholar.
Okay.
Or Horizon Chimera.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it looks like he's just going to block here. Okay.
Just chumping with it. That's really the only option he has. And then we see Spear Point Oriad, which is the 2/2 first strike. It actually has a pretty high bestow cost. It bestows for 6. A little more than you want to play.
As opposed to the 5, maybe. As there is a temple, a scry, and a concession there for Mark Littlefield. So Duke is going to even it up. Because you see Jensen there in the middle, battling on in his second game against Durney, which is where we'll probably be cutting to in just a moment for you guys. And if you are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Matthias Sun, here in Worcester, Massachusetts. Star City Game Open Series has made it here. Team Sealed day number 1 here for you guys. Round 1 of 9 as we introduce Theros to competitive Magic.
Found out why Littlefield's playing blue-green. They opened 2 blue-green temples.
Got it. The lands dictate what you can do.
Exactly. See, Brian Durney, they also opened a black-white temple. Durney's playing black-white.
2 of them.
Oh man, 2 of them.
I see 2 out there.
That is why, okay, their colors were preset for them by their lands.
By the gods.
That's actually an unfortunate open to, having 4 of your rares be duals.
Temples, yeah.
That's not good in sealed.
So let's update everyone on this board state really quickly, because on Durney's side you've got Spear of Helion.
Right. So
we know that.
So that's going to hold back Huey for a while. Remember, Huey's deck, as we saw last game, and by just to read the bones in his graveyard, really good at just generating card advantage. And he has, right now, Grey Merchant of Asphodel in play. He has a Mnemonic Wall. He has a Horizon Chimera, or a Horizon Scholar, which is the 4/4 flyer. It scries 2 and enters the battlefield. And the last card is the Disciple, which it takes cards from your hand.
It's kind of like a Thieving Sprite-esque card.
Yeah, Disciple of Phoenix. So, a lot of good blockers. We see a 1/3, a 2/4, an 0/4, a 4/4. I'm very surprised that Durney left in the return Phalanx.
Yeah, with how this matchup is going to go, it seems like it's, Huey's deck isn't very aggressive.
Attacking.
Yeah.
Right. And Huey's going to go ahead and Psychic Intrusion again. This time looks like he's going to exile Oh, from his own. He can go from his own graveyard. He's in the exile chosen by Heliod. It looks like.
Yeah, so target opponent, for Psychic Intrusion, it is target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from that player's hand,
Yeah, so
graveyard or
So
hand.
he went through the graveyard and he took chosen by Heliod, which he really just took that for the. It's creature gets +0/+2 and draw a card. So I think he just took it for the draw.
Sure.
He made his Horizon Scholar a 4/6, which plays around Lash of the Whip,
Yep.
which we did know that Durney had.
Yep. Saw it last game.
That's a little bit of a heads-up play there. And we saw that the card actually in Durney's hand is Insatiable Harpy. It's a 2/2 flying lifelink for 4.
Maybe he's going to toss that back at him.
This is a little bit of a scary play for Huey. Is actually the creature that Durney played. It's Scholar of Athreos. So it's a 1/4 for 3 that for 3 mana drains a life point from your opponent. That, I think, will demand a removal spell if Huey has one. Right now we see a drain of 2 immediately and start draining 3 a turn.
Yeah,
Huey can't race that.
This is the kind of card that Durney wants in this matchup.
Yes.
Yeah, this plays defense well, but it also actually has a relevant effect of it can win the game on its own,
I
given
think
enough time.
if this card was an enchantment, I think Durney would still be playing it.
Yeah.
And the body's not. In fact, you probably prefer it was an enchantment because then it'd be harder to kill. It's difficult for Huey to race this card.
Yes. Now, of course, we do know that Huey does have removal in his deck. He's going to come across in the air here, but the Scholar demands an answer.
And we see a Prescient Chimera. He's a 3/4 for 5. Whenever you play an instant or sorcery, you scry 1.
All right, so there is an answer in Lash of the Whip. So bye-bye Scholar
Yeah,
after 2 drains.
It looks like Huey's hand is just full of cards right now,
Yeah.
which, is really not. It's a scary place for it to be.
And, man, the Prescient looks really, really good, too. As there's your 2/2 flying lifelink.
Yeah, it's an Insatiable Harpy, but it doesn't tangle with any of Huey's flyers right now. He has a 3/4 into 4/6. That Scholar may have been Ryan's best hope there.
Yeah, it looks tough. You see Jensen immediately draws his card, immediately reaching for mana. Wow. So another Prescient Chimera. I think we're going to see a spell here. We are.
Let's Freak of Secure.
Secure.
Scry 2, or Scry 1 twice.
This, yep. Jensen's deck looks, I like the look of it. I do.
So Jensen there scried Return Phalanx to the bottom. His deck is the kind of deck that I think wants Return Phalanx.
Sure. He wants to go as long as he possibly can.
And it turns into an attacker when he needs it to. It's great.
Gonna come across in the air with some Chimeras.
Yeah, Chimera is kind of the go-to card for go-to creature type for blue flyers in the set.
And that is going to do it. So Ryan Durney is going to concede the game, and William Huey Jensen is going to win the game and the match for his team. Now, if I know anything about Reed Duke, I'm probably going to play it out, especially in this situation. Again, on that side between Turtenwald, Jensen, and Duke, these are 3 players that are preparing for the Pro Tour. You're going to want to get as many games in as you can, especially with this new format. So, again, the team of Turtenwald, Jensen, Duke is going to win the match over Littlefield, Durney, and O'Brien. We'll probably cut over to the Duke match so we can see these guys just finish up here, and so we can learn more about the cards. You guys can learn more about the cards at home. You see a Bow of Nylea in play for Duke, but Littlefield is given some beatdowns here.
Well, Bow of Nylea is really good against Littlefield's board right now.
It really is.
So Bow of Nylea has 4 modes to it.
Only 4?
Only 4.
Only 4.
Only 4 options. The most scariest one, the most relevant one here, as you just saw, tap deal 2 damage to target creature with fly.
Yeah.
But its passive is probably the worst of the, attack creatures you control gain death touch. Especially if you think about it in Reed's deck, which is full of large monsters. That's not particularly relevant.
I guess you could argue they don't need the help.
Yeah, in Limited, I think the first 2 ones abilities are what you see the most. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, or deal 2 damage to target creature with flying. You probably see gain 3 life a lot of the time. So there's just a lot of utility in the card. The last one is not particularly good unless you're milling your whole deck.
Sure.
You can with Return Centaur and Commune with the Gods. In theory, mill your whole deck. You can start tutoring with Bow of Nylea. That's an actual thing.
See an Asp here from Duke as the bow has been dealt with by Littlefield.
Yeah, he used Fade into Antiquity, 3 mana exile target enchantment or artifact.
Yeah, which now this card's kind of interesting too in this set in particular, again because there are plenty of enchantment creatures.
Right.
So we're looking at a card that, we've seen naturalized effects many times. Of course, this one exiles as opposed to destroying, but in this format, because of how things line up with enchantment creatures and the fact that the weapons are enchantment artifacts, I think that this is a very main deckable card. So there's the Voyager Chimera on the end step here from Littlefield.
Yeah.
There's Ill-Tempered Cyclops as well. We're looking at basically a glorified Hill Giant here, but with a lot of upside.
Yeah, well, both the Nessinasp and the Ill-Tempered Cyclops are really good vanilla monstrous cards. And we also see Spark Jolt, which is a 1 damage scry 1 card from Reed. Actually be able to deal with Vaporkin, getting him farther ahead.
Gut shot, as it were.
Yep.
Not
Maybe
as
similar to
not as
close.
Not as good. Close though.
It's not as good. It's not free.
Yeah.
Free is better than paying for things.
Still gonna come across in the air there with a Chimera.
All right, so it looks like Littlefield is just gonna race. Remember that Horizon Chimera is gonna gain at least 1 life a turn. He gained 3 more this turn with Nylea's Disciple, which is another. Speaking of glorified hill giants, it's another one. It's a Centaur healer right now.
Sure. Not so bad though. I mean, if you're going to go racing, which is exactly what Littlefield's deck wants to do, again with those 3 Voyagers ends, the 4th one in the sideboard, and potentially Griptides being brought in, this is exactly the kind of game that he wants to play every time.
Well, you saw Reed almost swung Nessinasp and Ill-Tempered Cyclops, and then he saw that 2 blue mana and he thought.
Yeah.
He's like, wait.
Might want to slow down a little bit.
He wants to trade with the Horizon Scholar, Horizon Chimera really bad. That card, not only does it deal 3 damage, but it gains a life every turn. It's what will win Mark the Race.
Yes. And there's Horizon Chimera on the screen. 3/2 flash, flying, trample, and you gain life.
Remember that Reed can monstrous either of them right
Yep.
now. Monstrous can be done at instant speed. Both of them have monstrosity 3, I think. So.
And this is the thing that I really like about Monstrosity in the set. The fact that you can play it as an instant. I like that a lot. Because it really makes it so that you have a decision to make as a player, but your opponent also has a decision to make as well. If they want to block and maybe force you to block, something of that nature. You see the next mana has Monstrosity of 4, activation for 7 mana. But I like the back and forth that it promotes here. As you see, Duke is going to activate the Monstrosity on the Ill-Tempered Cyclops, so it's going to become a 6/6 now. 6/6 trample.
So that's 10 damage.
Yeah. It's a quick untap here from Littlefield, so it looks like he looks pretty happy.
He's fine with this. He drew Voyage's End.
Okay.
All right.
That's a pretty good draw step.
It's an excellent draw right now. But I don't know, unless he has another Voyage's End, I don't think he can afford to. He'd really like to use it on the Leaf Crown Dryad right now, but I don't think he can afford to do that. Unless he has 2 Voyage's Ends, or like Voyage's End Griptide, or some other removal.
The other thing too here for Littlefield is the Horizon Chimera. The static ability on it when you draw a card, you gain a life. That's not irrelevant right now.
No.
It might be. He might only need a few more life points to hang on.
It's really close here. Reed can do so much damage and can leave back so many blockers. Littlefield, he needs to have removal, but yeah, it's hard to contain all the damage that Reed is doing.
Yeah, and you see Littlefield. He wants to attack with something here. He kind of wants to attack that Courier. He wants to attack with the Chimera. Doesn't look like he can attack with either one though. You see him consult. It looks like he's consulting his teammates.
I don't think he really likes the situation he's in at the moment. We know he has the Voyage's End, but we don't know the other card.
Difficult situation for Littlefield. Just the threat of those big creatures just going monstrous yet again. That Asp can go monstrous next turn, as we know, makes it very, very difficult.
Now he could, yeah. What is he looking at? Remember that the Horizon Chimera has trample, so that there are some tricks you can use with that and Voyage's End to make the damage trample over. Not this turn, but it could become relevant next turn.
Yep. Yeah, again, do you want to attack with the Disciple this turn either?
Well, it's whether or not you can stay alive.
Yeah. It's difficult balancing everything and knowing, how do I want to use this Voyage's End too? That's a huge one right now. He's okay, so he's gonna bounce. the blocker out of the way. He's going to scry 1.
So the Dryad can come back down next turn. But then Reed can't Monstrous the Asp. What Littlefield's probably worried about is if Reed just bestows the Dryad onto Ill-Tempered Cyclops.
So he's going to come across for 3.
He can bestow there. So say he does bestow.
Okay.
Onto the Cyclops. Reed can swing, and then either Mark, if Mark has to block it, or if he bounces it, then Reed has a blocker because the Dryad will still be in play.
So Reed's going to start by playing a Forest. 7/7 are the life totals.
It'd be 6.
Yeah, it should be. I believe you're correct. I think it should be 7-6. We'll get a life total update for you guys at home.
So see Spear Point Oriad. And
now this one bestows for 6.
Yeah, and it goes First Strike.
Yep.
So First Strike and Trample, strong. I mean, I don't know how much the First Strike matters. Nothing was trading with the Cyclops anyway.
So now we're going to block here, but there's a Trample there that's involved.
That's lethal.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it.
All
so
right.
Reed Duke is going to defeat Mark Littlefield 2-1 as a team of Duke, Jensen, and Turtenwald do take it down over Littlefield, Durney, and O'Brien to get round 1 started here. The Star City Games Open here in Worcester.
Yeah, pulling off the sweep there, I think Reed managed to navigate what to me